The roads are blocked. Hundreds of taxis stand still, flags waving, thick black smoke rising from burning cars. Passengers are trapped in the middle of the city. Imagine ordering a ride just to get to work, only to find yourself caught in the middle of a street battle. That was the scene in Paris in the year 2015, a day the press would later call the Black Day of Transport. And it wasn't only France. In Madrid, São Paulo, and cities across Europe and Latin America, the streets turned into war zones. Taxi drivers felt their livelihoods were under attack, while a young company, only a few years old, was reshaping the entire world of transportation. But the question remains, how did we get here? How did a small idea turn into a multi-billion-dollar company that sparked chaos across continents? Today's story is about Uber, the company that changed how the world moves forever. But to understand how it all began, we need to go back to the very start. December 2008, a cold winter night in Paris. Outside a tech conference hall, two men stand shivering, Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp, waving their hands, trying to hail a taxi. An hour passes, no luck. Frustrated, Travis mutters, "Seriously? It's the 21st century and we're still standing in the cold waiting for a cab." Garrett smiles and replies, "What if we build an app? One tap, and a car comes right to your door." That brief exchange would ignite an idea that would change transportation forever. Travis Kalanick was an American software engineer, stubborn, rebellious, relentless. He'd already failed once, with a startup called Scour, losing millions in lawsuits. But failure only made him hungrier. Garrett Camp, a Canadian entrepreneur, had already struck gold, founder of StumbleUpon, which he sold to eBay for millions. He had the curiosity, the vision, and the money to take a risk. A short conversation, but it was the spark that lit a global revolution in how the world moves. After Paris, the two men returned to San Francisco. Garrett provided the funding, and Travis took the lead. In May 2010, during a local app showcase, they launched the very first test ride under the name Uber Cab. It was nothing short of revolutionary. Opening an app and seeing cars move in real time on a map. Requesting a ride, and having the driver arrive within minutes. Paying automatically through your credit card. At first, the service was limited to luxury black limousines. Sleek, elegant, and exclusive. But success came fast, and so did trouble. San Francisco's transportation authorities declared it an unlicensed taxi service, and that marked the beginning of Uber's very first battle with the law. Starting in 2010, police across several U.S. cities began cracking down on Uber drivers. In Boston and New York, undercover inspectors would request rides through the app, and the moment the driver arrived, they'd stop the car, issue a fine, and sometimes even impound the vehicle. In Portland, the city went further, a total ban on the service. Drivers operated in fear, glancing over their shoulders, never knowing when a police officer might appear from around the corner. It became a game of cat and mouse, the police chasing and Uber drivers running. Imagine you're a police officer in an American city trying to catch unlicensed Uber drivers. You open the app, watch the cars move across the map, and request a ride. But the driver never arrives. The car disappears, the trip is canceled, and everything feels like an illusion. This wasn't a coincidence. In 2017, the New York Times revealed that Uber had been using a secret internal program called Greyball. Originally designed to combat fraud, the program was also used to identify accounts linked to regulatory authorities, like police departments and city agencies, by looking at signals such as government email addresses or geographic locations. When the program flagged a suspicious account, it showed the user a fake version of the app. Cars that didn't exist, rides that never materialized, a virtual world carefully designed to keep regulators at bay. The revelation sparked a major public outcry and led to investigations by the U.S. Department of Justice. Under mounting pressure, Uber eventually shut down the program and announced its cooperation with authorities. But despite all those confrontations, Uber turned the controversy into free publicity. They dropped the cab from their name, simply Uber, and began to expand. Between 2011 and 2014, Uber stormed into hundreds of cities: New York, London, Madrid, Dubai, São Paulo, Johannesburg, spreading across almost every continent. In just 3 years, Uber became a global company. Users loved it. Faster, cheaper, and no more arguing with taxi drivers over fares. But for traditional taxi companies, it was a disaster. Their income collapsed, and anger boiled over. Then came the protests of 2015, the same events we opened our story with. In Paris, drivers went on a full-scale strike. They blocked the roads around Charles de Gaulle Airport, set Uber cars on fire, and clashed in front of live cameras. In Madrid, taxi convoys shut down entire streets, carrying banners that read, "Same law for everyone." In São Paulo, tensions turned violent. Taxi drivers chased down Uber cars, attacked drivers, and police had to intervene. It looked like a war between the old and the new. People's livelihoods on one side, and the unstoppable force of technology on the other. Amid all this rapid growth, a new challenger emerged in the United States: Lyft. With its friendly vibe, bright pink mustache logo, and cheerful social atmosphere, Lyft positioned itself as the warm, community-oriented alternative. But Uber saw Lyft as an existential threat, and what followed became one of the fiercest tech rivalries of the decade. In 2014, reports by The Verge and CNN revealed that individuals associated with Uber had created thousands of Lyft accounts to book fake rides, a tactic that disrupted Lyft drivers and strained their operations. Other reports described how Uber allegedly used internal tools to gather information about drivers working for Lyft, a controversial practice that led to lawsuits and intense public scrutiny. At the same time, Uber poured billions of dollars into aggressive price-cutting strategies aimed at expanding its dominance. The American media dubbed this battle the street war, a conflict that wasn't just about who could offer the best service, but about who could outmaneuver and obstruct the other. Inside Uber, not everything was as it seemed from the outside. Travis Kalanick's famous motto, "Do the impossible," had, according to reports and later testimonies, turned into intense pressure on employees. Workdays that could stretch up to 16 hours, fierce internal competition, and a workplace environment that some described as harsh and deeply problematic. In February 2017, software engineer Susan Fowler published a now-famous blog post titled, "Reflecting on One Very, Very Strange Year at Uber." In her post, Fowler shared her personal experiences of harassment and the company's inadequate response to her complaints. She described Uber's workplace culture as a jungle, chaotic, and riddled with administrative neglect. Her post spread rapidly across the globe, sending shockwaves both inside and outside the company. It marked a turning point, exposing to the public a darker side of a company once celebrated as a model of innovation and success. 2017, the year of scandals for Uber. Harassment allegations, the secret Greyball program, a brutal war with Lyft, global protests. Uber's reputation began to crumble. Investors, once dazzled by the company's meteoric rise, had finally had enough. They gathered behind closed doors and forced Travis Kalanick to resign. The man who had once been the rebellious hero of Silicon Valley was now seen as the face of greed and corporate chaos. It was a dramatic fall, a crash from the top of the world to the very bottom. After Travis Kalanick's resignation, Dara Khosrowshahi stepped in as Uber's new CEO. He was born in Tehran, Iran, in 1969. At the age of 9, he fled with his family to the United States after the Iranian Revolution. He went on to study electrical engineering at Brown University, began his career as a financial analyst, and eventually rose to lead Expedia, one of the world's largest travel companies. Under his leadership, Expedia's revenues grew from $2 billion to more than $8 billion, and he spearheaded major acquisitions like Hotels.com and Trivago. Khosrow Shahi became known for his calm, transparent management style, a complete contrast to Kalanick's fiery and confrontational approach. The press called him the perfect man to rebuild trust. His first decisions as CEO were decisive, implementing strict policies against harassment, introducing new safety features such as an emergency button and enhanced ride-sharing tools, and launching a major effort to repair Uber's damaged relationships with governments around the world. No, Dara didn't turn Uber into a flawless or wildly profitable company overnight, but he saved it from collapse, restored its stability and reputation, and made Uber a name that investors and regulators could trust again. Uber didn't stop at ride-hailing. It launched Uber Eats, entering the food delivery race, and quickly became a global competitor. Then came electric scooters and bikes, giving people new ways to move around crowded cities. And behind the scenes, Uber poured billions of dollars into developing self-driving cars, the next frontier of mobility. Its vision? To become the ultimate mobility app, a single platform where you can order a car, a meal, or even an electric bike, all with one tap. Today, Uber operates in over 10,000 cities around the world. Its market value hovers around $90 billion, but the competition is fiercer than ever. Lyft in the United States, Bolt across Europe, and Didi in China, all fighting for a share of the same road. And the question remains, can Uber stay on top? Or will the same forces that once made it unstoppable one day bring it down, just like it once brought down the taxi industry? In the end, Uber's story began on a cold night in Paris. From police chases to global protests, to a blog post that shook the company and a founder forced out of his own empire. Uber's journey isn't just a story of business, it's a lesson in ambition, innovation, and excess. What do you think? Has Uber changed our lives for the better? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next story. See you in the next video.